This is the first guest that we've ever arranged the interview in side profile mode. As we welcome for the first time on the Craftsman Online podcast, brother Sean Moody. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, brother Michael. Good to see you.
I think the episode title is going to be clickbait and, is going to get all the action anyways. The most interesting Mason, as a tribute to the most interesting man. We'll find out why you get this title, but we got to start first. I hope that you don't develop some sort of severe neck, like you turn like Batman from the position of, recording this interview tonight.
This is how I record pretty much all of my videos. So I wanted to give your users the preview experience of what it's like to know me.
Nice. Well, let's start there. I first met you towards the end of last year, 2025, at a lodge meeting here in the DC area as a fellow traveling man in the jurisdiction. I feel a lot of brothers don't really benefit from that, or they don't think about that as a master mason. It's one of the things that drives me crazy because we say, hey, this is why we wanted to become a master mason so we could visit other lodges. When did
Mm.
you decide, like, hey, I want to get out of my mother lodge and go visit, the lodge across the street or around town?
Well, my mother lodge is in Florida, and I basically just moved to DC and had to get settled here, and kind of just looked around and got a little lonely and remembered, hey, I have a lifetime of unlimited friends in the oldest fraternity in the world, that is Freemasonry. And on top of that, the one we met at has free dinner. So you can't beat that. Actually, I was going to make a hack about that, about different ways to get free dinner. One of which is how to do it at Congress. One of which is how to do it at Freemasons, if your worshipful master will let me. But yeah, not to give away any upcoming things, but I get into some interesting places for free food.
Pro tip.
Mhm.
December, you could basically eat for the month free in the grand jurisdiction of the District of Columbia because that's when all of our installations happen. And so you're not
Yes.
just getting dinner, you're going to get a pretty good to even great caliber meal. Pro tip.
Yeah, pretty much every food hack gets a benefit when you add a suit to it. So if you have a suit, that's usually your ticket into getting a lot of free food.
Gotcha. And I'm trying to remember. I think it was Hiram Tacoma Lodge is where we met, and we're
That's
sitting
right.
across the table from each other at a wonderful free dinner. And you're like, "Yeah, I'm a visiting brother. I moved to the area, and I started telling you my story." And the next thing we get into it, and I'm like, "You're a what do we call you? A content
Pretty.
creator." Uh,
Oh, influencer, technically, content creator, that works too.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
And you start telling me about your videos, and I'm like, no way. Like when my son was 12, he once told me, and this was back in 2014, that when he grew up, he wanted to be a YouTube gamer. And I was like, your reaction is how I felt, but I was like, dude, it's not going to happen for you because you suck. I've seen you and your friends play these games, and you guys suck. What else do you got? When did you realize that, hey, content creator, influential, influencer, whatever the term you want to use, when did you realize that could be a path for you?
Oh, just when the algorithm gods decided to, shine the spotlight on me, and I saw it and decided to dance, you know. Some people get the spotlight. Most of us will, you get your 15 minutes of fame. And a lot of people, almost like I did, just go, oh, well, I got my viral video. And I did a video just for your viewers to know about basically I was trying to buy some airline tickets. And another interesting story, there were airline tickets to go to Indiana because a museum had somehow found my grandfather's love letters to my grandmother during his time in the Korean War, and they had disappeared from us and shown up at this museum. That's a whole nother story. But I was trying to get airline tickets, and the airline has this button for upgrade for $80. And I was like, no. And it wouldn't let me click it. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I just filmed myself having a really frustrated time. And I was like, all right, here's how you disable this button. And I showed everyone a really easy way to go into the website's backend and remove the button itself. And also hinted at, by the way, don't use this to get around paywalls. And basically, that video went to, I don't know, 6 million views. And even though I'm not a computer science guy, I'm just a curious guy. I was like, okay, I guess I'll try it again. So then it was like, how do I get rid of all these YouTube ads, And then That one took off. And then, oh, how do you jailbreak your Roku? That one took off. And just created kind of a storyline. So teaching everyone these kind of interesting hacks while at the same time, having like a fake battle with Kevin Bacon in the background, and trying to get more followers than my ex-girlfriend. So I just tried to create an entertaining experience while also giving everyone these little tricks that they could learn in 3 minutes a pop. So,
Gotcha. So
yeah.
you did, there was a strategy, there was a plan. This wasn't just by accident.
Well, so that's an interesting thing, because I've been doing social media for other companies for the better part of it, for great more than a decade, and there was not a plan to make this thing go viral originally. The first one, it just
Mm.
went viral, and then I went, all right, let's take a look at it. And I looked at it and I went, oh, I've got the hook, I've got the freebie, I've got the call to action. Okay, I just instinctively made this a viral video. And there's a way to do that. There's a whole mathematical formula that I'll probably go into one of my hacks in the future. But I just instinctively did it. I kind of call this I think there's people who can follow a formula, and then there's people who can instinctively do it. And the best people who can instinctively do it grew up with The Simpsons, in my opinion, just because they get that perfect timing and those perfect jokes. So yeah, it wasn't originally planned, but it was kind of just accidentally created in that way, and I just knew how to recreate it. So,
When did all this happen for you? Like, where were you in life? What age were you? Were you a Freemason yet? What was going on?
oh, this was like 6 months ago. this,
Really?
oh yeah, yeah. I have 850,000 followers right now, all of which I got in the last 6 months. I joined Facebook last week and got 50,000 followers since then. Like
Wow.
it's if you make something that has value and you use a formula to make this thing happen the way it's supposed to happen, things can just take off. Plus, I noticed there's one little thing that everybody doesn't seem to get. These platforms are like, pardon me, are like, great language there, Sean. These platforms have been taken over by Gen Z people. They're kind of like the professionals at it, but they turned all of their content into commercial advertisements. Everything they do is like, something like,
Oh, hey,
hey,
can
did you
you
know there's, yeah, what?
hold that thought for just a second? This is a
Yeah.
great time to talk about Patreon and how you could join. Oh,
Oh yeah, totally.
exactly. That's what you're talking about. It just turns into one big commercial.
Yeah, actually, that's very funny. But yeah, what the Gen Z people do is they made everything all production-y and like, did you know that? And they don't give any new information. They're talking about like how they just found out they have a garbage disposal in their sink. Meanwhile, people like us are like, what? Like, oh, the world is so new to you. And me, I'm like, all right, look, forget all that bull crap. Here I am. I'm in a shirt that probably has a stain on it. I'm at my computer. I'm in a basement right now, which is where I live. And here's how I get by. And I'm only showing you stuff that I haven't seen other people do, which is probably why it's been taking off. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
You had teased, and I'm going back to my old school radio training where, always think of an audience of one. So my
Mhm.
audience of one in this moment is going to be, my wife, the woman I love and fear, and
Oh, wow.
she's just upstairs, my
Okay.
wife. And
Mhm.
her dream is to become a TikTok influencer. She tries so hard.
Oh
I
God.
think she has 7 followers who are human beings.
Oh.
One is me, and the other are her 6 other sisters.
Mhm.
And I try to tell her, I'm like, you're doing all of the stuff that everybody else is already doing. People aren't going to follow you. You
Mm.
seem to have found kind of a magic here. Is there a secret sauce when you talk about being original? It's hard to explain to people. You just said that like Gen Zers have a hard time doing this. Like, what is it? What is the magic sauce there?
Yeah, well, I'll quote some fantastic information from my good friend Andrew Heaton, who some of you may know. He's a person who does the reason. He has a podcast called The Political Orphanage. He said you need to look at what you're doing, and you need to tell the audience this is the only place where blank. So, this is the only place where you're going to get this, because that makes you special and that makes people want to follow you. When I show people, they can get around these upcharging ticket sales. And I'm doing it in a way where it's like, this is just what I figured out. I didn't learn this from a TikToker or anything like that. And people are like, oh, I never knew about that. Another big one that no one had ever seen was how to skip in front of the scalpers using coding in the back end of a ticketed event. That one blew up to like 10 million views because no one else had ever done it. It doesn't work all the time, but if you can find the right ticketed event, you can skip in front of the scalpers. These are just things people don't know. But you can also, it's not just the information that people don't know, it's the experience. You are a unique person. And I think most people, they like, oh, yes, well, I'm going to be this great, I'm going to follow what the great people have done. Lean into your uniqueness. When I was coming up, I was studying some of, I don't know if you ever heard of the pickup artist, but there's like a whole subculture of people who try to mathematically figure out the best way to do dates and stuff like that. And one of the things that they learned was, if you're the guy who wears the suit and you like look like everyone else, you are going to be treated like everyone else. You're going to be left out in the cold. So they do what's called peacocking, where they have like little things that stand out about them, like wearing a really fluffy fur coat or something like that. You need to be yourself, lean into your own feathers, I guess you could say. Bring the information, and if you got some weirdness like me, I am a guy who has an ex-girlfriend who wanted to be an influencer, and I'm kind of like, my character is a little lonely. It's I'm in a dark basement right now, and but I'm still like, well, I'm gonna get ahead. Come with me, let's do it. That's kind of my character. Those are my feathers, and a lot of people relate to that. Not the least to include some celebrities. I had Shaquille O'Neal follow me. I have Neil Patrick Harris follow me. Alan Tudyk follows me because
Hmm.
I'm just a funny, guy who's got useful information. I'm your friend.
I would testify to that. Literally sitting across the table from me, there was when we met initially at the that Masonic meeting and a lodge meeting, and there's this guy. It's the first time ever being in a Masonic lodge, and he's wearing speaking of peacock, the brightest yellow, canary yellow polo shirt I have ever seen in my life, in a room full of guys with dark suits and ties. And they're
Mhm.
like, first time here. It's like, like the jokes you had, like, does this guy just have him chambered up? He is ready to rock.
Yeah.
Um, I want to get to the point that, because I'm thinking of my wife and others who have tried so hard. Uh,
Mhm.
when you had talked that there is kind of a secret and understanding a hack almost to becoming viral or getting viral content.
It's
I'm
kind
not
of a bunch of hacks, you
I'm
know.
not so much interested in that. Like, they can buy your book on that one. I'm cool with that one. I
Hey,
do want to send people your way.
I mean,
Um, my question is, what was it like, and how do you get notified, and is it like chasing a high to try to get it again?
yeah. So you have to be ready for that. Yeah. So what it's like, you wake up and you see that you've got 20,000 views, and you're like, oh my gosh, I've never gotten more than 300 views, and then it just keeps going. 25,000, 30,000, 40,000, and then the followers start going up. At one point, I got 45,000 followers in a single day. It's just insane. And to to me, I try to stay level-headed. A lot of the stuff in masonry teaches that. A lot of the philosophic study I do teaches that. There's people who tell me I have a big ego, so I try to work on that. But to me, it's kind of just, it's a means. It's a oh, this is how I can start making money now. I uh, didn't have employment when I started this. I left a job about a year ago, and I was just like, okay, I'm on my own. Let's see if I can swim. And I started doing real estate. I started doing video work, and this wasn't something I was planning on. And so when it started to take off, it started in my head to be something like, oh, this is something that could sustain me. And then I looked on Instagram, and Instagram doesn't pay you any money. So I was like, oh, crud. Like, not even with 100,000 followers. They won't even give me a free verified badge,
Hmm.
which is hilarious. It's like, oh, you can pay us. What? What? You, my goodness. But you at first it kind of goes to your head. At first you like leave your house going, "Oh, someone's gonna notice me." They don't. They don't.
Kind of a
Uh,
big deal.
yeah, big deal. But here's the thing: in all of my business dealings, in all of the people I've met, when they find out what I do, they start to treat me a lot nicer, which is lovely. I have so many people because I'm a video guy. Usually, when you're working with people, you're like the peon camera guy, the peon video editor. And when you're the like minor celebrity who's working with them, they're just like, oh no, oh, you're doing great. They're very encouraging. And I mentioned Kevin Bacon earlier. He said that he once walked around with like a disguise on just to see what the world would be like without people saying hi and being nice to him all the time. And he said, it sucks for regular people. And it's so funny because it does, like it if people are nice to you all the time, you get used to it. So without being tacky, I try to somehow slip it in there, like, oh, by the way, I've got a million followers. It's without like trying to force it on people. It's something I'm not used to yet.
Well, I
So
feel like my title is just going to pale in comparison. I call him the most interesting traveling man or mason that you
oh,
will
that's
ever
going on a
meet.
resume. I'm gonna put that on
Nice.
a resume. Yeah, no,
Nice,
this is
very
great.
nice. Yeah. We're catching up with brother Sean Moody. Speaking of resumes, just a fun question. Do you think it's a good idea to include video game accomplishments on your resume?
Well, it depends on what you're applying for. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, if that's what you're applying for, then yeah, go for it. Why do you ask? I feel like there's a reason.
Oh, I've actually had a serious conversation. Talk about things that people don't think Freemasons talk about at dinner or outside of
Talk about
lodge.
everything.
This was one of them, and I was like, oh, I think it's a great idea. And it was like you could hear the bones crack in people's neck because they were turning their head to be like, why do you think that's a great idea? And I was like, because you can display, as you said, you can display leadership skills, you can talk about technology, being innovative, multitasking, like all of the attributes or skills that people look for in some jobs and in industries. And they're like, never thought about that. And I'm like, yes. So yes, while your son might be a loser and playing video games all day long, there's still some skills and talents that's involved in that. And for certain roles, yeah, I would say
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
yeah. No, I think I've actually learned a lot from video games. Believe it or not, I never play them anymore. But
Mm.
I was going to write a book about this. There's like video games have taught me some really like I was playing one called Age of War, which is one where you send your men out and they have to fight these other guys, and then you build your base. And I was playing it, and I realized the men that I'm sending out, they cost money. Building the base costs money, but only the base can fire stuff for free. So what that told me was, and it's so weird that my mind made this connection, but I was like, if I build a base, if I get a home and I put renters in it while I live in it, then that's passive income. And me sending soldiers out that cost money that like die over and over again, that's a 9 to 5 job. So it's like, where do you want to put your energy? In something that's going to work while you sleep or something that's going to cost you 8 hours a day? And so by that, I started doing my passive income streams, which is, being in a house, having roommates, stuff like that. So there's so many others that have come from that. I don't want to bore your audience, but yeah,
No,
it's
no bore
but
here.
honestly,
No.
though, if you tell an employer though that you're great at video games, they may not understand. So you might be on the side of rationality, but
Yeah, also a good idea to get a good fake background so you can hide the giant TV that's behind you at any age so that you don't
oh
get
yeah,
busted. Yeah.
oh totally, totally.
Yeah. All right. Walk me through a day in the life for you because you said this is your full time thing. And I know there's people like my wife who dream of Sunday becoming a social media influencer. This is her weekend, hobby job. She's
Mhm.
got to show outfit of the day and all the other duck face poses that they do. But what's it like for you? You wake up whenever you feel like it. You have to start creating content right away. What happens?
Oh yeah, no, I wake up whenever I feel like it. It's totally awesome. I used to hate getting on the bus and going to the 9 to 5 and being with all the other people who are like, tired and exhausted. Today I woke up and I went to the gym and I didn't start working until 1. I actually haven't done any social media stuff today at all. I try to do something once a week. But yeah, I actually do real estate stuff too, which I'm working on, hasn't really paid off yet. I do video production work, which is I'm doing pretty well on right now. And then tomorrow I'll probably start the social media video of the week. And mine, I kind of go really hard on. Usually I spend somewhere between 10 and 20 hours every video that I do. The last video I did, which was like kind of an entire, and it was like just a very important educational video. So that one took probably about 3 weeks, and I kind of during Christmas was working on that. But yeah, no, I typically wake up usually around 7, just because that's when I wake up. But like yesterday, I woke up at 11, and there's something so freeing about waking up late and not feeling guilty about it.
Hmm.
And there was actually an actor, Mark Duplass, who said in one of his podcasts that when he was able to, he gained a little bit of money at one point, like not a ton, but a little bit of money. And he was able to stop doing the 9 to 5 thing where you have to be like, oh, if I don't go to work, I'm going to starve. That's acting based on fear. So he got a little bit of money and he was like, okay, I want to focus on acting. And just that positive, some people call it acting based on love instead of fear, kind of opened up the world of possibilities, because suddenly you're able to think clearly. You're not thinking, where am I going to eat? You're not thinking, where am I going to get the money to survive? Because we've been kind of conditioned to focus on the really short term. We've
Mm.
been conditioned to be like, how do I pay the rent? Because it's imminent and I don't want to be on the street. If I would say, build up a little bit of a investment in yourself so that you can let yourself breathe and let yourself think not based on fear. I didn't know that social media was going to open up for me. I thought one of these other things was going to open up for me. And they are, because I'm doing all three of them. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was going to a 9 to 5 every day, if I was working every day and then coming home exhausted at 6 p.m. after rush hour and just wanting to watch TV until I pass out. And then on Saturdays doing the laundry. No, when I wake up now, I look at my schedule. I have this whole system and I go, what is the most important thing to my dreams? Instead of what are the most important things to the employer who employed me's dreams. And I think that we could all, I mean, if everybody did that, then I don't know, like maybe our whole economy would adjust. But for the people who can have the privilege to be able to do that, you, you know, you might change your life. You might fail. That's always possible.
True.
But you're not going to succeed in this way if you don't carve out the space for it.
I think you helped with that answer. Like you broke down a huge myth. I think a lot of people think, oh, this guy just wakes up and he's just funny right away, which of course he is. But there
A lot
is a
of
strategy. Yeah, a lot of practice. Um, but when you talk about like 3 weeks to produce something, like for someone that has a media production background, I'm like, that's like a small documentary or an editorial piece for a newscast, some sort of
yeah.
investigation piece that would go into it. And that's just the production time they put into it. He's earned the title Tech Robin Hood
Mm,
because the things that you talk about focus on obviously technology, finance, and as you mentioned, hacks.
mhm.
You had to figure out who your target audience is. You had to figure out what the common problems are that they face. And then your job is to figure out creative ways to present these solutions in a
Mhm.
fun way that we would now call content.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, watching The Simpsons a lot helped with that. Number two, my job for over 10 years has been training people from the ground up in tech stuff. So I've been asked every single question. I once got asked, how do I get to YouTube? So, which was a hilarious thing to be like, I employed you, but you know, it kind of taught me that whole thing they say when you work in the newspaper industry, make it so a second grader could read it. That is so important. I don't assume you know anything when I teach one of my courses, and also they're not even really they're less courses and more just like individual cool things you can do. But yeah, when I do it, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to assume you know how to install a program. I'm going to go to this website, click this button, download it, double click it here, right click, unzip. I show you exactly how to do every single thing because I know you miss one little thing and everyone's, oh, I don't know how to unzip a file. It's like, okay, that's fine. My audience is everybody. It's not just people who know how to code and things like that. In fact, probably less people who know how to code, more the common person who just wants to learn. Most people, I think, don't even use the hacks. I think they just want to know how they work. They want to know what's available.
To be honest, that's what I do myself. I spend about an hour to an hour and a half every night watching TikTok videos as part of my routine before I go to bed. And if you're looking for Brother Sean Moody, his online account, he's known as Seanald Connery. That's Seanald Connery on everything. This dude is on every freaking platform that exists. You will find
Yeah.
his videos. And what I like about it is just what you just said. Is like I can go to this, and even though I'm like, you know what, I'm not really that interested in how to get around this. There's no like gotcha moment at the end where it's like, oh, well, to get the rest of this, you got to subscribe, like, and follow, or jump
Yeah.
over here for some paywall thing, which would be kind of ironic for a guy that's teaching you how to get around paywalls, is that you're just giving people information. What is the feedback like? Have you ever had someone in real life, as they call it, come up and be like, yo, bro, thank you so much for this video. It was crazy how stupid easy you made this, and I love you for it.
Oh, like literally every 12 seconds, I get a message on my Instagram. I had to mute them, obviously, but my Instagram messenger is just constantly pinged with, oh, it's so great you helped me with this. Oh, it's so great you helped me with that. And by the way, on my Patreon, I do have some things that are paywalled, believe it or not. But what I do is I never force. I always give you something that you can take to the end, and then I go. And if you want to, like, there's something really amazing. You can see all the hacks there. Like for instance, when Amazon hit my car, I was like, okay, I'm going to teach you every Amazon hack there is now until they pay for the car.
I do remember this. This was a funny in real life. This really happened. This wasn't just a
Yeah.
gag. It was, yeah.
Yeah. It's what's really funny too is almost every hack I've given has been in retaliation to me getting screwed over by some company, and they're it's not anything made up. It's all happened.
Mm.
So and it's funny because I'm like, geez, how I'm gonna run out of getting screwed by companies? No, they just keep screwing you over. So I keep on making content out of it. But in that vein, I was like, okay, now let's teach you how to jailbreak Audible. Well, what does that mean? That means when you buy Audible, if you stop paying for it, you stop getting access to your books. And some people want to have those. Some people want to just have them separate. So here's how you jailbreak it. And then, but also, if you want to build your own Audible, which involves setting up a server, involves getting free rights content in 4 different ways that I show people, then you can support me. But the little piece of it that actually does something amazing is always I try to make them free pretty much all the time. And then what I do is I usually will give people a sneak preview ahead of time who do like the $5 tier. You get to see the hack a week ahead of time. And this is kind of like a way to let you try the hack before everyone else does. Because sadly, when everybody knows about something, sometimes they
Mm.
get patched. And sometimes one of the hacks, this isn't much of a hack, more of an investment thing. One of them was investing in a dinosaur excavation. So basically, as some people have seen my videos, only millionaires until recently have been able to invest in dinosaur excavations, and the returns are like 4,000%. Because people they spend $1 million to dig up a stegosaurus, and then it goes to auction for $42 million. And so there's a company that got a bunch of people together to invest in the excavation, and then they pay you back once it's done. I own part of a stegosaurus, part of a brontosaurus, and so I put that on my thing. And because I'm in it, I get the early access link to invest. So I put that on there, and all the people who were just $5 tier members got to see it a week before it opened so they could get as many shares as they wanted. And then the free members, they got to see it the day before it opened. So they could still get the shares, but you got to act quick. And that thing sold out in 5 minutes once it opened up. So
Hmm.
it's kind of the benefit is giving early access.
Be honest, more likely to get chicks telling them that you own dinosaur bones or that you have almost 1 million subscribers on Instagram.
Oh, almost 1 million subscribers. I just, I went out on a date yesterday, because my Bumble lets me put my Instagram on there, and uh, I don't want to embarrass myself by saying usually it takes like 100 swipe rights for me for every swipe right I get. That ratio has probably gone down to, I don't know, 20-1 instead of 100-1, but it's definitely a plus. So I've just been really, like, I literally just got on dating apps last week, and I'm like, let's see if this helps.
Mm.
And yeah, I maybe Bumble's just great. I don't know, but I've been definitely enjoying it more with just a little bit of that.
Yeah,
A little,
you'd be the guy I'd want to play two truths and one lie, or two lies and one truth, or whatever that game is. Because I own dinosaur bones. Oh, that's got to be fake. He's got to make that
yeah,
up. No,
yeah.
no,
No,
actually, yeah.
I got the certificate.
And the bones. Like, I've got both in case you
Well,
need to really know.
well, and let me tell you this: besides it being a valid stock option, do you know how wonderful of a Christmas gift it is to buy 5 stocks for each one of your family members and be like, by the way, you own a dinosaur now. Here you go, little Timmy. It's a great Christmas gift.
Forget the stars. They go out of style. You
Oh,
want a dinosaur
yeah,
bone
no,
this year.
no. You can own a star and a dinosaur. You could own the star that took out the dinosaurs. Why not?
Dude, there you
Yeah,
go. That's what's
full
next.
circle, full circle.
We've talked about everything from the hacks, the content generation. You've even shared some tips with us. We mentioned early on, like, hey, the Masonic tie here is a great place to score free meals, which I never really thought about it. Like, there's only one other brother I've heard use that term before, and I love
They're
him for
good
that.
meals too. Those Masonic wives know what they're doing.
Yeah,
And they
they
usually
do.
have beers and stuff. I don't drink, but like, it's great. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. It's an easy score. How has and what has been the role of Freemasonry in your life?
Oh gosh, yeah. So Freemasonry. So I started back in 2013. I actually started in Florida, and the person who trained me in my catechisms was actually a Freemason who was technically homeless at the time and extremely respected inside of the lodge, which kind of goes to show the value of the brotherhood. And he lived in an old burned out restaurant, which he was technically allowed to stay there because he was the security guard. He was sleeping on an air mattress. And I would buy a 12 pack of, Bud or something like that. And then also a pack of cigarettes. And back when I used to drink and smoke, and we would sit there, and I learned my catechisms in this like half building in Florida that was like abandoned, being taught by a well respected man who didn't have a home. Like that's kind of the wonderful, interesting path that just started my journey. And as I went through, you kind of learned that Freemasonry contains all of the wisdom of the ancients. And I can't give away any secrets, obviously, on this podcast, but there's an interesting parallel between what I do now and kind of the secrets of Freemasonry without giving them away. As you know, with the internet, everything about Freemasonry, including the secrets, is available. And they address this in the meetings. They say, we know that you can find them elsewhere, but you just won't get them from me. But the interesting thing that I've found is that with this advent of the internet, people still don't know the secrets of Freemasonry. And the reason is because the internet itself has caused your attention span to shrink down to about 8 seconds. That's a social media analytics number. Our attention spans are less than a goldfish now because of that late night scrolling you were talking about. I'm very sorry to say. So the secrets of Freemasonry still remain intact for the most part because people can't absorb the information. And it kind of ties in with the way the old masters, not master masons, but literal masters uh, of craftsmanship used to operate. It used to be if you wanted to be a shoemaker, you had to basically give yourself up for indentured servitude to learn the trade and do all the work for free so you could learn how to make shoes. This was secret knowledge, that was kind of held together. And now with the internet, anyone can be a shoemaker, but not everyone has the attention span. So the interesting thing, and I kind of hate to come to this conclusion, but I think it's true. The new masters are the people who can take the information and turn it into something that our attention spans can absorb. So the new masters are the influencers. And that blows my mind. I hate that. First of all, I wish everyone had the attention span to go out and do whatever they wanted, because if you do, you can make anything happen with just a curious mind. I'm known as the tech Robin Hood now. I don't have a computer degree. I don't have a history. I'm a philosophy major, but I have a curious mind. And I learned that back in college, there was this guy who was a legend at tech stuff. And I was like, how do you know all this tech stuff? And he goes, I have a Google. I have Google. That's it. You could do anything you want. You just have to train your mind to get there. So, yeah, that's kind of how it ties in.
Some people would say that about your life too. When you started the answer to that question, you're like, well, I learned my catechism in an abandoned restaurant with a mason over a six pack and a pack of cigarettes. It was like, wow. Like, there's people that live country songs, right? But then there's people who just basically live a movie script. Like, I was going to ask you what's next after content creation, but I seriously think you could write a movie about your life. Like, do you realize how interesting it is, and do you enjoy that?
I mean, that's so flattering. I always, because I'm a content creator, as you know, I've always thought, like, how do I write a movie about my life? And I'm like, one day I'm gonna sit down and do it. But yeah, no, there's other things in there, but that's just one little piece of the pie, I tell you.
Mm.
So one day we'll get there and kind of explain everything else that's happened. But yeah, like yeah, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm about. I was told by a doctor that I had about 5 years left until my liver gave out, and that was 7 years ago.
Mm.
And so I kind of consider this like my second year of life. This is like, okay, you should be dead now. And so you're happy. Now, I'm all healed now. I don't want to give them a misconception. I quit drinking. I have a bunch of friends in AA now. My liver has shrunk back to the right size. But basically I was told, no, you're pretty much done. And it would take kind of a miracle, and I got that. And so I kind of get to experience life with new eyes every single day. And I guess through that, what I've learned is all of this stuff that we think is so important, that gets our anxiety up, that gets our fears up. Like, you've heard that cliche, it doesn't really amount to a hill of beans,
Mm.
it's not important. And when you take the time to try and figure out what is important, some amazing things start to happen, at least in my experience. And the worst thing you can do, I think, is to just have a negative attitude about it. If you're down, like I've been in a position where I had to sneak into uh, a property that I shouldn't have been in so that I had a place to stay. I've been down before. I have what they call privilege. I have a loving family that I can always go back to. Um, but I've never been after finding out, like, oh, you've got 5 years to live, and not having any money, and at one point having somebody screw me on the rent, so I had to move out and having nowhere to go. I've never ever sat there and gone, oh, my life sucks,
Mm.
and that's probably the biggest gift maybe my parents could have ever given me, was to just be like, God's got you, you know, and whatever happens, you can you can figure it out. And I hear some people who have it worse off than me. Don't get me wrong. People who have not had the advantages that I've had, and I totally acknowledge that. But I think that their biggest disadvantage is focusing on that. And I don't want to be. I know there's this big stigma about that. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. People don't like that saying anymore. Um, but if I could, the only advice I would say is like if you're focusing more on um, the stuff you don't have, that's where your energy is going to go. What you should focus on is um, have gratitude for one, because it'll really help the chemicals in your brain and it'll really help you feel better. But also, it'll kind of like wherever you focus your energy in your mind is where your energy. Excuse me, that's the wrong way to say that. Wherever you focus your mind is where your energy is going to go. And if your energy goes to making your situation better, then you don't get me wrong, you're not gonna all your problems won't go away, but you're gonna debilitate yourself with negative energy if you
Mm.
think about the bad all the time. And I've done that before. I totally get it. I just encourage people to be positive if you can, and
Yeah.
if you can't, okay, just be aware of it. Be aware there's positivity out there. Hopefully, I hope you find it.
Do they still like guys like you in schools with kids? And I mean that in a nice way, because we used to have assemblies when I was growing up, and they would bring people in that would talk about their life or cool things, and just your story and the moral that you're talking about here. I think about this now as I'm getting older. I'm pushing 50, so I kind of started embracing this thing because I see myself and others that live in this routine, and we were kind of taught to live and act a certain way, right? And especially when it came to thinking about work or relationships with others, and that makes you put other things on the side. And I got to a point where I'm like, I'm going to end up, pushing up trees, and worms are going to eat me at some point. And I don't
Mhm.
want to die with any regrets. Now, this doesn't mean I'm going to go do super crazy shit, but at least once a year, I want to put myself in a situation of, I would have never, ever been here before. What am I doing? Because I want to be able to experience that moment. And it seems to me like your whole life has been a little bit about that. But to your point, is like, yes, there's a certain positive outlook that you have to have. My wife is a breast cancer survivor. So I have a ton of respect for her, because things that stress me out, like bills or her lack of paying for them, uh, don't bother her at all, because she's already faced a demon, right? And so a little bit of what you're talking about is very appealing to me. And I hope people that are listening are picking up on this and going, well, yeah, he's funny, but he's also a very philosophical point there, is that it's called life. You have to live it.
Mm. Absolutely, yeah. And I think very good point about your wife, and I'm very sorry to hear that she had to deal with that. But she might agree, maybe she won't. But I feel lucky in that I got to experience a near death experience and still be here, because it
Mm,
brought meaning to the rest of my life. And I feel like people are almost missing out on because you get into this routine where you're like, oh, my life is making money and eating and sleeping. And when if you're lucky enough to be like me, where you get to face death just a little bit, not to the point of a cancer survivor,
mm.
but I got to face death a little bit and come out of it pretty much unscathed. That's something to be grateful for, because I can sit here and go, I can have a different focus on what's important. So for people who don't get to experience that near death experience, you have to search hard for that meaning, and it means you have to put a lot of time and effort into it. And unfortunately, it's kind of like a chicken and egg thing, because if you are working all the time and you're exhausting yourself all the time, all your energy is going into just surviving instead of living. You
Or
know,
you just get in a relationship with the wrong person. That'll be a near death experience instantly as
that
well.
can
I
be
mean,
a near death experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned something
Woo.
earlier that I want to tie back to, because it is a Masonic thing that we can talk about here. I know we are in different jurisdictions. It's a New York Mason, you're a Florida Mason, but we're kind of talked to at a certain point during that first degree that if we ever see somebody is entirely destitute or in a certain situation, it should become on us to come to them for relief or charity and perform help in whatever way that we can. Right? It's a charge that we're given.
Within your means. Yeah.
Yeah, trying not to give away all the ritual, but yeah, we could talk
Yeah,
around it a little bit.
I chose means as the word instead of the other word.
Yeah, yeah. So I think for those, they immediately think of someone who's entirely destitute as being penniless and asking for change on the side of a street corner. But you kind of talked about it. Like when you get to that moment in life and you're like, well, the only thing I have is my health because everything else around me has either failed me or is gone. Like I am entirely destitute right now. And if you've ever been in that situation, and I know I can feel that you have as well, you react to people asking for your help or your charity in a certain way. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I just want to make it clear that I've been in difficult situations, but I don't want to put myself at the same level as a person who has nowhere to go. I have had parents that I could always go to. In these particular situations, we had been in a fight, and it was my own ego and embarrassment that made me not go back to them. So I don't want to misrepresent and say that I've been at the lowest of the low. There's definitely people who've been down in those dumps. But to your question, are you asking like what's the perception from being that person when people offer you help, or is it what's
Well,
the
so for me, for example, like, the first time I got divorced, I was basically kicked out of the house that I was in. And
oh
I
god
found myself to be entirely destitute, like literally couch surfing, having nowhere, didn't know where I was going to live. Everything I had was stuffed into a little tiny, Honda Accord. All of my life became just a couple boxes and literally the clothes I had. I mean, I spent more time at work just because that was a place where I had a desk and a chair and I was in a building because I didn't know where I was going to go. I was
yeah, yeah.
eating gas station hot dogs and just absolute shit. So when I see someone who comes to me and says, "Man, I can look into their eyes and I'm like, I have felt a version of that pain before. I am going to come to help you out." Versus others who are just kind of standing there and I'm like, you need help, but you're not really destitute. And I think that's a challenge that a lot of new Masons hear because they hear that charge where they're told to be a good man, be upright, come to the aid of people who need your help and support. And they think they got to give $5 to every homeless person that they think. And I'm like, my man,
Mm,
you didn't hear that correctly. It's
mm,
those that you deem worthy and that are presenting themselves. And don't forget how you felt in that moment when you were just a poor blind candidate in trying to get help from somebody. So that was kind of the basis that I was coming from because I'm sure you live in DC, it's a big city. You come across these people in all different walks of life
mm,
and you're faced with making these tough decisions or just people that come to you and say, "Hey Sean, like I need a place to crash, I need somewhere to stay." Like how do you weigh that offering charity and relief and help and aid to people?
mm. Yeah, well, there's a bunch to unpack there. Well, first of all, it's just kind of a funny story. When I used to walk around the city, I would get social anxiety from the people who would ask for a dollar.
Mm.
Because I hated having to say no, sorry, no, and so
My younger brother actually has a patch that says "no spare change" that's on the back of his backpack.
so the funny thing was is I would walk around the city with this angry look on my face just in case somebody wanted to ask me for money because people would less likely ask me for money because I had that social anxiety. And then one day I said, "You know what? Let's take a 20 and let's turn it into singles and let's just carry it around." Because I don't want to have this cloud above my head while I'm walking around all the time. That can't be healthy. So I put 20 singles in my pocket, and I was like, "Here's your passport to be happy. You're paying $20 to walk happily down the street for however long this $20 lasts." I think I got asked for a dollar 3 times in a year after that. Like it just it was kind of in my head creating this like kind of situation. And so like that was me paying $20 to be happy basically, and not even it costing that much. So that's kind of a fun thing there. And the other thing, and I think it was Hayek who said this, when you see someone who's bad at managing money on the side of the road asking for money, probably the worst thing you can do is give them money, because what you're doing is you're giving money to someone who's bad at managing money. The best thing you can do is probably listen to them. That's usually what people want. People want you to listen to them.
It's a
And
solid point. I don't give money anymore. I hate to say it, but I have a new line that I've learned thanks to a brother in New York City, that if someone, hey man, you got any change? I'll be like, change begins within you. And then I just
oh
keep
gosh,
walking. Um,
that that
it's a good
almost
one.
sounds like you're dissing them.
Well, it's true when you think about it. It does begin within you.
Any
I,
change begins within you. Sorry, I don't mean to diss your method. If what I would say is, like, if you want to help people, donate to the local shelter, get their card, or
right.
sometimes the local shelters have these little things where you get free food, and then you'd be like, "Hey, I donate to this shelter. They got some food for you. Here it is."
There you go. Yeah.
Like that's what I would say.
See, change begins within you. Look at
Yeah.
that. Came back around full circle.
Oh goodness.
All right, let's say if you got to be king of all internet and social media for the day and wave a magic wand,
Oh
what would
gosh.
be the one thing, as an influencer, content creator, and social media user yourself, what would you like to change? What would you like to fix and just make go away?
Okay. So there's something that's happening right now that I can kind of see happening, and I haven't commented on this anywhere else, but there is a rise in the if you want to play in our social media area, if you want to be on our Facebook, on our Instagram, you got to give us your government ID. This scares the heck out of me, to be totally honest. Now, my face is out there. You know who I am. My literal first and last name is out there. It scares me for other people. Australia just released something with good intentions, that pave the stairway to hell. They have good intentions to keep children off of social media under a certain age. Love that, by the way. I think that's very good. The way they do it is by making every single person submit their photo ID. Now, uh, this is a problem, I think, because you now have your identity tied to the social discourse that up until this point was you were kind of allowed to say what was on your mind. In Australia, people get knocks on their door sometimes when they criticize the government. Uh, that that's very, like, there's schools of thought that say, "Oh, this is great. You're accountable for what you're saying." It's kind of worrisome with free speech, in my opinion. I don't know if you read, there was a New York Times article recently where the government was subpoenaing all of these social media things, Discord, Reddit, and all that, for people who are critical of ICE right now. Now, whatever your opinion on ICE is, it's kind of like, that's what are they going to do with that information? Are they, or maybe they're just trying to stop people from making ICE officers unsafe. Uh, but also, what if all our IDs were tied to uh, everybody's Facebook, everybody's Twitter, everybody was tied to their government ID? I don't love that. So if I were king of social media, I would probably like make a mandate that says never shall you have to tie your ID to play in our playground unless you have a verified check mark. Maybe that's a fine system. Have a verified check mark, put in your ID. Don't make everybody do it. Is
Mm.
the point? I think we have way too. It's we are right on the cusp with AI of everybody's thoughts and everything being observable, trackable, predictable, and up until now, it's been for the sake of selling you stuff. When I don't know, I'm a little uneasy about it. I don't want to. I don't want to spout out too much, but because I don't know for sure what the end result will be, but
No,
it
that's scary,
frightens me.
dude. That's really
Yeah.
scary. Yeah, that's there's implicit and explicit data. Anybody in digital marketing recognizes those terms, but I couldn't. If somebody asked for my state issue or government ID to join a platform, pound sand would be my reply. I don't even give my phone number out to people anymore.
Oh,
Like,
you shouldn't. That's how you get those calls. I'm
yeah,
working on that right now.
yeah, I
Yeah.
went and found someone who annoyed the shit out of me, got their cell phone, and now I give out their cell phone number when I'm asked for my cell
Oh,
phone
that's
number.
terrible. Oh gosh. They're like, oh, maybe that happened to me. Maybe that. Okay, yeah. Wait,
Sean,
it
is your
wasn't me, was it?
703? No, just kidding.
Yeah. Uh,
No, this is awesome. And I really appreciate our time. And it was funny, just, one chance meeting, you walking into Tacoma Parks Masonic Center, me being there for the Hira Tacoma Lodge Mini that night, sitting across from the dude with the brightest t-shirt that you needed sunglasses for. And here we are having this conversation after chasing it down. But the exciting part for me was finding you online. And being
oh
when
yeah,
you had
nice.
mentioned like, oh well, I do something, playing it cool. I do some things on YouTube and Instagram. 800,000 at the time. I got 800,000 followers. I'm like, I'll check this guy out. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy's pretty funny. He needs to be on Saturday Night Live. Which is kind of
It was there.
it's like my out question for you is like, how long do you see yourself doing this role? Is there something that you would want to do again, or is this it?
So this is kind of a means to an end, and the end result that I'm aiming for is not having to ever worry about having to do the 9 to 5 again. That's kind of my end result. I have a number in my head which will change later, but basically, if you figure out how much money you need to survive, and then you multiply that by 20, I believe it is, then once you get that amount of money, then you can sit here and go, oh, now I can do whatever I want. And for me, whatever I want is in the form of being able to peek behind the veil of reality by studying philosophy, basically. I once asked myself, hey, if I had all the money in the world, what would I do? And I was like, well, I'd get a massage, and then I'd go to like a group therapy session, and then I'd go learn from a mentor. And I was like, oh, I just described rehab, like so. What I want in the end is basically just to be able to, be in a place where I can not have to have the stress of needing to survive. And I have a lot of supporters right now who are just kind of helping me be in a place where I can open my mind and focus on creating this fun content for them. And that's all the people on the Patreon, even the free members. The Patreon's got free members, it's got $5 members, it's got $20 members. We call them the gatekeepers, and they get like all the really big hacks. So anybody who's watching this who wants to come check it out, feel free to check out my Patreon, Seanald Connery, Seanald, and then Connery, Connery. You can find me there. I don't know if you can link it on here.
Oh, dude,
But
we're totally gonna take care of you on that one. Yeah, all the links to find him everywhere are in the notes in the episode description for this episode.
nice.
It's funny because you talk about being a philosophy major. I had a good friend of mine who was a lawyer who lived across the street from me, and he was a philosophy major. And I was like, I did not know that. I thought he just, went to school to be a lawyer. And he was like, no, 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 I went to school to be a philosophy major. But my dad told
Yeah.
me that nobody was going to pay me to sit in a field and think professionally. So I had to go to law school. And I'm like, if only he had met you, because that is basically what you do people pay you to think for them and entertain them. That's the fascinating part about your job.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Because I have the same mentality. Like I got my master's in business after philosophy. And that's the great thing about a philosophy degree. It forces you to get higher education, because if you don't, you're kind of screwed. Like you're like, I can be a philosophy professor or, huh. But the way my professor explained it to me, the benefit of it is most people go and they get a degree so they can learn how to make money. Philosophy, uh, shapes your entire understanding and view of reality. And it allows you to kind of look at the world in a way that other people can't, much like Freemasonry. See, full circle. If you can master looking at the world, and not to quote I Heart Huckabees here, but if you can master looking at the world, everything you've ever hoped and dreamed and wanted, you already have and are. So sounds pretty good to me.
It's a good place to get out on. Anytime a guest quotes "I heart Huckabee," which is a first, it's time to go. Seanald Connery, he's the most interesting Freemason / traveling man you'll ever meet. Brother Sean Moody, thank you so much for your time on this episode of the Craftsman Online podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.